Welcome to Full Throttle, powered by Race for RP. We're spending a little time here at one of my favorite racetracks in North America, Sonoma Raceway, carved literally out of the Sonoma Mountains. You don't get many views like this at other racetracks. It is spectacular. It's also spectacularly hot, very much unseasonably so, but that's all part of the game. We don't mind, we're here and we're enjoying it and we're loving it. And we also have what I think is going to be a truly blockbuster show for you this week. As always, we're going to be hearing from Calvin Fish about the new trends and news developments in the world of motorsports. We have an absolutely wonderful interview with a fabulous singer and entertainer, Denise Stephanie, who has written a song for Race for RP and polychondritis.org, and she has just issued a remix that is going to be incredibly popular. It's high energy and it's a lot of fun, as is she. It was a great interview. You're going to enjoy it, and you are not going to want to miss this one. We sat down and spent some time with one of four-time Indy 500 winners, Helio Castroneves. An absolutely incredible show. Let's get on with it. As usual, we're going to kick things off with our visit with Calvin Fish and talk about what's news developing in the world of motorsports. And Cal, a couple of big events and two open wheel series unfolding over this past weekend. First of all, let's talk Formula One Monza, one of the biggest events, the Italian Grand Prix, always on the schedule, a track that is just absolutely phenomenal. And I think at Monza, in a microcosm, it pointed out some of the issues that Formula One is still dealing with. One, even before we got into the race, the grid penalties that people were taking, because Monza is such a power-hungry track that everybody was swapping to get their best engines in. And what happens? It is one of the most convoluted things you could imagine. On the coverage, they were trying to make sense of who's actually going to start where after qualifying. And it took something like 4 hours for the grid to actually get released. So it was confounding F1 officials. Can't we do better than that in the world's premier series?
I think absolutely. And the devil's in the detail. We say it every week, Greg, with these regulations, with the various series. But the rule is there, and it's really understanding the rules. So it was a real Rubik's Cube of who goes where and when and how the grid would line up. I think even the teams were confused by it all. And ultimately, we had 9 drivers switching positions from where they were following qualifying. So in terms of the show, Greg, qualifying I find so exciting to sit there on a Saturday, whether you're at the racetrack, you're watching at home, sitting here in the US, and watch who's the fastest driver, who was second fastest on down the line, and then see the grid roll up for Sunday. And it bears no resemblance to what happened on Saturday. It's absolutely crazy. And you're right, Monza, power-hungry circuit. There's an opportunity there to do a lot of overtaking. So I think even teams are putting power units in the bank, so to speak, so that they could take them later this year at a track that may be more difficult to pass on. They're getting that penalty out of the way. So lots of things to be learned there. I think that the qualifying should showcase itself in the grid on Sunday. I think that in terms of these grid penalties, maybe look at a different option. Let's make it points. I mean, ultimately, if you sit further back on the grid, it's going to be a points penalty in terms of where you're going to finish on Sunday by starting further back. So let's just make it. First additional engine, 10% penalty in points. Lose 2 or 3 points. Another one, you lose double that. Try and make it a deterrent, because what's weird right now, as I understand it, Greg, your first extra power unit, you're allowed 3 for the year. There's a gearbox penalty issue as well. But when you look at the power units alone, first one is 10 grid spots. Second one is 5. To me, that makes 0 sense. It should be more of a technical one the deeper you get into the hole. So first of all, identify what really is the true number that you need. Look at the stats from this year. Is it 4? Is it 5? Make that the new number for all of the teams to utilize that. Then if you get beyond that threshold, then make it a points penalty. So you line up on the grid as you would. And at the end of the day, if you win the race, instead of getting 25 points, you get 22 or 20 or whatever the right number will be. So from the purists, they won't like it. But we've got sprint races now where there's additional points awarded there. Why not take away some if you're into those additional power units and make it simple come Sunday to see the grid and see who's the fastest driver starting at the front?
Well, I think that makes perfect sense. And it's tough to get people to invest their time to watch a qualifying session, which normally, you're right, is so compelling and so exciting, and know that the starting lineup's not going to resemble anything you've just witnessed. And it just makes no sense to me at all. And I think the point solution is a far better one. And we have to remember here that, yes, there's the sporting regulations, and I admire Formula One for really fighting hard to keep the sport pure as a sport itself. But the fact remains, there's a massive, billion plus viewing audience, and the fans at the track are paying huge amounts of money now to be able to be there and watch. You've still got to consider them and give them a show, which kind of leads into the next thing that I think pointed out a weak link in Formula One's rule structure right now, which was that yellow flag, and safety car at the end of the race. There was ample time for them to have called a red and give us some racing at the end. They elected not to do it.
Safety car deployed, safety car deployed. It's going to stay safety car till the end, isn't it? I have a horrible feeling that way. They're struggling to move the car. Lando, I think it's going to finish behind the safety car.
Why? They could easily just resume the race. Why are they so stupid?
Yes, there was a rule in place, and I understand after all of the craziness from Abu Dhabi in changing that rule on the fly, that's a bad thing always. But then they adopt a rule that's still pretty absurd in many ways. And, the teams had an opportunity to vote on it and said, well, that's the best we could come up with. I don't buy that. And you think about the fans a little bit. And one of the options proposed, Cal, has been if you get within a certain percentage of laps remaining in the race, and if they're not a virtual safety car, that just sort of neutralizes the field and then you go back. But if there's a scenario requiring a true safety car where the field's going to be bunched anyway, within a certain percentage of laps remaining in the race, red flag it. Your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, again, it comes down to the rules are there, and they abided by the rules, which they didn't do at Abu Dhabi in the finale last year and cost Lewis the title, of course. We don't need to chew on that one anymore. But they laid down the rules as they're written, and now we get into the nuance of what's best for the fans. Do we want to see cars that can run at 200 miles an hour plus at Monza trundling around at 60, 70 miles an hour behind a safety car for the final 5 laps of the race? No. I mean, it's not how anyone wants to see it go down. Even Christian Horner, the Red Bull manager, team manager there, said this is not the way we want to finish things. So I think there needs to be a rule in place. But again, you can't change it on the fly. But I think you're right. Maybe 10 laps, 5 laps from the end. Everyone knows the rules. If we get a full safety car within 10 laps to go, you know what? We're going to go red. We're going to reset this deal, have the same rules in place. If everyone has the ability to change tires, let everyone change tires. That's another nuance to the rules in terms of what's allowed under a red. But make it fair for everyone. So you've got someone sitting at the front of the pack who's now going to have a red flag, everyone right behind him with maybe an advantage. So try and neutralize that a little bit. But yeah, we've got to put on a show for the fans.
I almost dare not ask you about the safety car restarting. They followed, the race director followed what they should do, and the race ended the way it was. Any view on that, the way things could have been done quickly? Maybe George could have been dispatched to take his place sooner?
The race direction is going to be under critics, but in this time they followed the rules. Maybe they could have done it a lap earlier or let George through, but at least they followed the rules and they accepted that the race ends on the safety car, and this is how it should be or shouldn't have been. And
let's not get into that.
We talked about it Saturday to Sunday, recognizing what the grid should be. And at the end of the race, no one wants to see it end the way it does. And IndyCar will typically jump to a red flag and have a reset if necessary if they think they're going to run out of time. I think F1 needs to look at a similar situation there.
Well, and it is incredibly exciting, especially in person at the venue, to watch Bernd Maylander hustle that safety car around, trying to keep those Indy cars that are just trundling around at bay. But I don't think that quite compares to, with 5 laps to go, a standing start to the race. That would be fireworks, and it would be a great show, and they need to proceed there. You brought up IndyCar. Let's move to that. Some interesting developments and machinations unfolding. That was the second big, open wheel event, the season finale for IndyCar, and a couple of milestones were set in a way. First of all, Will Power breaks Mario Andretti's all-time pole record. That puts him into very august company, no question. And with a very savvy drive, he goes on to win the championship. And let's talk about Will first, because savvy maybe is the one thing that he has matured into these days. I mean, nobody has ever doubted his speed. Those 68 poles clearly reflect that. But he wasn't always the most savvy race car driver in terms of accepting what he could. And he's admitted these last couple of years he's evolved a little bit. I call it matured a little bit,
Right.
and it proved out this year, didn't it?
It really did. Just a wonderful campaign. I mean, he put together a championship season. You look at Newgarden had 5 wins, I think, on the year, would dominate on occasion, but he had the up and down, that roller coaster year, and ultimately came up a little bit short. Will, from the outset, just employed a very different strategy to what we've seen from him and some of the other drivers in the championship, and it worked out. I mean, it was close. He never panicked. He was willing to take a podium versus going for the win on certain times throughout the course of the season. And it's a points game. It's a championship race. There's no playoff. There's no final. It's like what you accumulate over the course of the whole championship season determines your champion. And that's exactly what he did. And but it's not easy, Greg. I mean, you know what it's like. We've been around so many drivers over the years. There's some drivers who just have to win. Their ego gets in the way. It's like, I can't let that guy beat me. I can't let him overtake me into this corner. And you take the move that Newgarden put underneath Will going up into the corkscrew there. That was tight, but Will just didn't make it easy for him, didn't open up the door. But once Newgarden was committed to him, he just stepped out of the way, got back in line, and then you had Grosjean who was chasing him down. He didn't panic. He was going through a stint there on a certain set of tires, didn't have the pace, didn't panic, didn't throw it off the road, didn't ask for too much. And that ultimately is what gave him the championship title by finishing in that position he did. So just a wonderful championship year. His pole record is remarkable to beat Mario's long-standing record of 67. He's now got 68. He'll get many more. His days are certainly not up anytime soon for Will Power. So just a great year and just a very different approach to this season, and it worked out great for him. Really happy for him. He's a good guy.
In the off-season, my wife said to me, I believe you're going to beat Mario's record and you're going to win the championship. She said that to me, and it actually gave me confidence that I could do it. The fact that she said that, that's how much confidence I have in her gut feel. So she said those words, and I just couldn't believe that came true.
Yeah, he is. And a second championship, that's great. And I suppose when your name is Will Power, you do feel a little bit of pressure to prove it out on occasion, but he's definitely come around. The other big development there, and this is sort of tied in with the success he had, Alex Palou, the defending champion, who now gives way to Will Power after an off year. And obviously, we've talked about it. It's been debated, all of these contracts, the mess that he's been in. He just dominated the field. What was it, 30-plus seconds for a win at that track, which is generally unheard of. And then we find out, yep, he's back with Ganassi next year. Everything's hunky-dory. How does that play out?
Well, I think there's so many ways of looking at that, Greg. I mean, we've talked about it all summer long and how it happened, how his management team believed they had an out. Now, I've got no inside information. I haven't spoken to any of the direct parties involved, but just reading and understanding how it's played out a little bit, it seemed like Alex went back to the table, wanted a new contract. He was a champion, obviously at the top of the game, and Chip was willing to think about that. And I think what happened was that his management team said, as Chip is now putting a new contract in front of us, the other one is off the table, which means it goes away. And we can now look at this new contract and basically say we don't like it and walk away from it. Well, Chip's way too savvy for that if this is indeed what went down. He said, well, that's fine. Let me bring the other one back in that's still in place, and you're going to have to abide by those rules. So they got into this no man's land, and it's now been worked out. And the irony is that just yesterday they announced that Alex has indeed re-signed. He's back with the team, with the caveat that he can go off and do some Formula One testing and test other championships or other things outside of the Chip Ganassi Racing fold. And he's already in a McLaren as of today, testing at Barcelona. So they're giving it a little bit more freedom. I'm sure he's got a little bit more money than what he was signed up for. But I have to think, how has that played out this year, Greg? To go through the summer months with his team, with all of this noise around them, I really feel that if that hadn't been going on, he would have been in championship contention come Sunday. And then when he puts in a drive like he's capable of, like we saw, where he's basically unbeatable, maybe it would have been a second consecutive title for him. So I'm sure he's learned a lot from this. Drivers do at his young age. They get advice and they have beliefs that they feel that they're in the right and someone else is in the wrong. But you now end up with this deal where Alex is back with Ganassi for next year. The team may feel, well, he didn't really want to be here. He felt that the pastures were green on the other side of the fence. And then you got Felix Rosenqvist, who's immediately been, confirmed in Pelot's seat at the McLaren IndyCar team, feeling, well, they didn't really want me. They wanted Alex, but now he's not available. I'm in the seat. So it's not ideal, but, it's a complex game. There's a lot of things to go through. And the good news is we've got two amazing talents back on the IndyCar grid for next year. And I'm sure they'll all settle down. They'll regroup. It's a long off season for IndyCar, and they'll come out blazing for next season.
Always great to hear from Cal. We've got a lot more coming at you here on Full Throttle, powered by Race for RP.
I'm going all in. Feel my heart in my chest.
This is Neil Langberg, the old guy racer, number 153, 488 Evo car. And I was thinking about racing here at Sonoma Raceway. Racing is a pursuit with no real finish line. It's a sport that tests your courage, your physical strength, and your mental capacity every single lap. So if you have the stamina to pursue it, the most important step is securing a top-level team and instructors. And it's likewise for a person with an autoimmune disease like relapsing polychondritis. You not only need good quality medical care, but you need a team of professionals to help drive awareness and accelerate research. And that's what the Race for RP is all about, and the Relapsing Polychondritis Foundation. We're here to raise awareness, educate people about autoimmune diseases, and boost the resources available to further research into autoimmune disease. We hope this helps. Stay focused, keep your eyes up, and we'll talk to you again later. Thanks very much.
When you're an organization that is doing fundraising for charitable causes, nothing helps more than having a talented and well-known celebrity join your cause. Well, Race for RP has become incredibly fortunate because no less a talent than singer and performer Denise Stephanie has embraced the Race for RP cause to the point that last year she wrote and recorded an absolutely beautiful song to support Race for RP. Well, it was so popular, she just issued a remix, and we had an opportunity to sit down with her here at Sonoma Raceway and learn a little bit more about her interests in Race for RP and what's happening with that wonderful new song. On a scorching hot day, we were able to find a wonderful location here on the inside of Turn 1 at Sonoma Raceway, and we also found an incredible guest, Denise Stephanie, the lovely and very talented Denise Stephanie. And obviously a recording artist, you are in the performance business, you understand all of that, but you have now become fairly connected to not just the Ferrari Challenge North America Championship, but the Race for RP, who of course is our empowerment sponsor, as we like to call it. How did all of that start, Denise?
Well, it's interesting because of Ferrari Challenge and my husband, who's John Miller, a professional race car driver. He introduced me to the wonderful people at Race for RP, and I was really moved with how passionate they are. It's really like a community, it's a family, and everybody tries to contribute any way that they can, and I felt that my voice, my music is the way that I can contribute, and So I wrote a song for Race for RP to promote it, raise awareness, and it's called All In, and it debuted here with Ferrari Challenge last year.
Yeah. At Road America, they had their big, the end of the North American part of the season at the big party that Race for RP sponsored, and big screen set up, and then it made its debut, and I mean, it was incredibly well received. It's a beautiful piece of music. The passion that you talk about, the folks from Race for RP having, you matched it.
So loud it's ringing in my ears. Deep breath to stabilize me. This time I won't give in to fear. Luck only works when it's what you make. It's an opportunity that you take, and this time I'm going all in, and I'm never gonna rest. I'm going all in, feel my heart beat my chest. I'm going all in.
And it was so well received that you came out with a remix recently, and it just made its debut. Race for RP had a big fundraising sim race, esports race, if you will, and that's where it debuted, and it is now out there and available, and this is it. Denise Stephanie, All In, the remix. Prompted you to do the remix?
Well, the original is, I'd say it's like an anthem. It's powerful, it's cinematic, and it's timeless, but I feel like sometimes, especially for racing footage, you need something that has a beat that drives it. So I thought, why not? We should try something, and it's completely different to anything I've done before. So that was really new for me.
That's an adventure for you.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I love it.
I never experienced hearing my voice sounding like I'm in a club in Ibiza, But it's fun, and I think it's perfect for the sim racing event, and I think it's great for lots of race videos, and so I think it's just another way to promote the song, promote Race for RP.
Well, and I have a gut feeling that people are going to be hearing a lot more of it on Full Throttle as we move through things here. You mentioned your husband, John Miller.
Yes.
Interesting. I have some background with John. When he first started racing in what was then the Pirelli World Challenge in the touring car division, I gave him the nickname Mr. Excitement because he was fast, but he was what I call fast loose, where he was throwing the car around. He has evolved into an absolutely superb talent, not just in terms of speed, but also in terms of racecraft, being able to conserve fuel, conserve tires, everything you need to be a successful endurance racer, which he's proven he is. You're in the entertainment industry. That must be an interesting lifestyle where you guys sometimes find yourself on complete opposite sides of the world.
Though, there's so many parallels in his career and mine, and I think that's why it works. But actually, the lyrics of the song All In, I wrote thinking about what his mental space is before a race, and it's basically what mine is before a performance. And I was like, so if you listen to the lyrics, that's what it is, you know. So there's a lot of similarities.
I would think there would be, you know, obviously, you know, because there's both, you know, pressure on each side, you know, to perform, to you know, come out and be functioning at over 100% most of the time. Yeah. If you're going to really put on a good show or really have a good race, so it's you know, interesting that there are those connections. Sometimes you're at the races, sometimes you guys are a world apart, but I know that you guys are just in constant contact, obviously, and you sort of live vicariously through each other's exciting adventures, don't you?
Oh yeah, and then we're cheering each other on. So it's really cool.
Have you been to Sonoma before?
I have, yes.
This track?
I have.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of years,
Yep.
but first time with Ferrari Challenge.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite venues, to be sure, because it's a technical roller coaster. It's a real driver's track, and the track hasn't been repaved in forever, so it's hard on tires. So being able, we talked about conserve tires and everything. This is a great place where a superb driver can show over a good driver, and that's what makes it exciting. I gotta ask, how did you and John meet?
It's a funny story, actually. On an airplane,
Really?
traveling. Yes, I was flying to Orlando for work, and he was flying home, you know, to Orlando. And our flight was delayed, and we were the only two people that were going to Orlando, and we were stuck in Denver overnight, and we were, I think, destined to meet.
Nice.
And we became fast friends after that. We didn't see each other for about 4 years, but I always had a feeling that something was special there. And yeah, then I saw him 4 years later, and we've been inseparable since.
Well, you know
Been
what?
married almost 8 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it sounds to me, this is, you know, what happened with me and Jude, my wife, is when we met, we realized after, you know, we started dating and spending time together, that it wasn't so much that we met, it was that we recognized each other.
Oh,
And it sounds like that's
yes.
what may have
I think so.
have clicked with you.
Yep, because you meet so many people in passing, but somebody that actually leaves a place in you. Yeah, it's definitely something special, and we recognized it. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And that is what makes it special. And of course, John is one of the official driver ambassadors for Race for RP as well. So we actually had John on the show a little bit earlier, talking about his involvement at that level, and having you involved has just been just phenomenal. I know from Race for RP, I talked to obviously the other folks from Race for RP, and they are so genuinely touched by what you do for them, and because you do it with such love and passion and grace, and of course talent. And I just want to say thank you for taking some time here to come up and visit with us.
I'm so happy to do it. Yeah.
Right. Denise Stephanie, once again, All In. Check it out. It is the original, as I said, was as she said, a powerful ballad. This is a little bit more upbeat and energetic and driving. Both of them are wonderful, as is she. And it's so nice to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
She is certainly incredibly talented, but she is also a simply delightful and lovely person. And Race for RP is so fortunate to have her as part of the team, and we are so fortunate to have been able to sit down and visit with her here at Sonoma Raceway. And we have a lot more yet to come right here on Full Throttle, powered by Race for RP.
Last season was filled with major strides forward in RP-related awareness, research, and education, thanks to the efforts of Race for RP.
For the first time in history, clinicians are more readily recognizing and diagnosing relapsing polychondritis so patients can begin managing their disease sooner.
RP patient-focused programs at the University of Pennsylvania and the National Institutes of Health are providing dedicated, personalized, multi-specialty care to patients.
Race for RP continues to invest in robust research endeavors to fuel groundbreaking discoveries, but the race is far from over.
Patients with RP still need diagnostic tests,
targeted treatments,
and better outcomes.
A new season of Racing for Research is beginning,
and we don't plan on slowing down.
of the wonderful things about traveling and coming to racetracks is every once in a while you can find a true legend. And we were so lucky to find 4-time Indy 500 champion Helio Castroneves wandering the grounds here at Sonoma Raceway. And he was kind enough to take a few moments and sit down with us with an absolutely wonderful interview. Enjoy. You've had a few wins at the Indy 500. You know, the first 3, then there was that little bit of a gap. And, you know, each one of those has got to be just spectacular and amazing. But to have won it with a relatively small, almost still independent team, that had to be just phenomenal.
Eric, that was awesome.
There's a 4-time win on the line for Helio Castroneves. Look at the crowd. They know history's on the line. Welcome to the 4-time club, Helio Castroneves. That is awesome. Spider-Man is back at the Speedway.
As I mentioned, Team Penske, spent so many years with them. You come to a team and they tell you, what to do. And all of a sudden, Mike Shank and Jim Meyer, incredible guys. Not only incredible, Jim is an incredible business person, CEO, or former CEO of a Sirius XM. But Mike Shank, a guy that bet everything, started as a race car driver, even put his house in mortgage to keep it going. And today, the way he built the whole entire, not only on the IMSA side, but on the IndyCar side, it's just incredible. So super happy to have owners that are passionate about that. That's my wife, by the way, sounded the police. I want to make sure.
I love it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a Columbia wife, she's always on top, tracking you where you're at. But anyway, fiery. But it was so good to have 2 guys that are passionate about it, and a group of guys as well. Even that we might not have the Team Penske capability of equipment, but we have something that a lot of teams don't have, that, which is heart and passion.
And chemistry.
And chemistry.
Yeah.
We were able to put all these things together and give Mike his first win, and give myself the 4th one was a dream come true.
We have Helio Castroneves' road course car, same thing for the Grand Prix. And the final car down here is Helio's car from last year that he won the Indianapolis 500 that we are actually running again this year because we love the car so much. And then if it wins for a 5th time, then we're going to officially retire it. But this is a great car. We're really proud of it. And it's a little piece of American history right here, actually. We have what we call a build book. It is a Bible. It's actually a Bible. And we know that if you do these 25 things, we're going to have a pretty successful Indianapolis 500. And we live and die by that book. And it comes in, and they sit right here. You see them right here, actually.
I can't thank Mike and Jim and the entire group to be able to do that. And now we're going to continue going. We have a long way ahead of us to continue build that small team to be a big team.
And I have to tell you, when you won, the 4th, obviously, I've been a huge fan, ever since I was announcing it in the Indy Light Series. But I also had this very strong feeling for Mike, because I announced him when he was racing in Atlantis in his own little program. Oh, wow. And so to see the steps he took, and then to you 2 pairing up, getting the 4th, getting his Indy 500 win, it was magical for real fans.
Magic for everyone. And I tell you what, Eric, I'm not saying here just because I'm here with you, but we have a great chance to do something that nobody did. This year was close. 2022 was close. Started a little bit too much further back. Unfortunately, other teams were a little bit more strong on speed, but the setup of the car was still fantastic. And I feel that next year we're going to have a great chance to be battle for another win.
Does the 4th 4-time winner get to 5 wins?
I don't see why not. Like I said, records are made to be broken.
I like this already. Pretty good endorsement.
You guys got that? All right, good.
The desire's there.
The desire's still there very much.
If it's your day, it's your day. That's right. And I don't care what they say.
What do you think, Al? Can he get number 5?
Well, I think so if he behaves.
For me, it's an honor, and I'll do everything I can to do another one, because, again, it's special for me to be here treating among the gods of racing, and I just feel humbled to be here.
I have to make a little confession here. I announced you when you were running Indy Lights back in the day, I was doing a lot of track announcing at Detroit and then at the two Canadian races.
That was yesterday.
That was very recent, very recent, because we're both incredibly young. Talk about how you got from where you grew up and the like to racing Indy Light and eventually racing Indy cars in the U.S.
Well, basically, it's interesting. In Brazil, Formula One was always one of the biggest motorsport, let's put it this way. And we have an amazing heroes. We're talking about Nelson Piquet, Emerson Fittipaldi, Ayrton Senna, of course. So my goal was to follow the same way. Rubens Barrichello came afterwards, Gilles de Ferran, and you name it, all the rest of it. So my goal was just to continue in that direction. And when I was in England, one of the sponsors that I had back then was Philip Morris, and they said, we will do this Brazilian team in America, and we would like you to test for us. Then if you pass, we can sponsor you over there. I'm like, America? Here I go. Got my bag and went to America. And I remember 1995, or 6 actually, because 95 I was racing in England. I did the test, and a team named Tazo Motorsport with Steve Horn. It was only two spots available. I couldn't run much. I hurt my ribs driving go-karts. When you're young, you do stupid things sometimes. And so I was able to do only a few laps. However, those few laps was good enough to impress Steve. And Steve basically was the guy who's like, you know what? I'll make a third car for you. Because even if you complete the test, it's not fair for the other ones that are doing the whole test.
Right.
So we got 2 guys. Tony Kanaan was one of them, Louis De Palma was another one, and I ended up getting the 3rd seat, which they came up with a different car. So it was great. That's how my career started here in America. And I tell you what, it was great because I fall in love with the sport, fall in love with the American perspective of if you have a chance, you go for it. Not all about who do you know or politics, let's put it this way. Politics, you have it everywhere. But for me in this position, it was more like, if you have speed, you're going to go far, and that's how I ended up going.
Opportunity.
Big time.
Give the opportunity, and if you can deliver,
you make it happen.
Then you're in. Looking at that logo on your driver's suit here, you were one of the founding members of the Concours Club, which is down at
number 4.
Number 4.
That's
wow. So
which
very
is number 4.
There you go. That worked out beautifully, didn't it? You're here, obviously, working with the folks from the Concours Club. It's a sponsor of Ferrari Challenge, but I also know it's a passion of yours. And let's first talk a little bit about the connection with the Concours Club. The concept behind that whole thing is phenomenal.
Well, first of all, great to be here. What a beautiful place, by the way, Turn 1. I've been coming here to Sonoma, by the way, for so many years. This is the first time that I'm actually in this building, in this amazing spot here, so which is incredible, by the way. This place is awesome, so it's great to be back here at Sonoma. And let me tell you, the connection and with the Concours Club is absolutely amazing. First, they have an amazing group of people, amazing team. My dad always told me, involved and get yourself surrounded by amazing people, because that's what your life is going to becoming better and better. And it's true, you want to be surrounded, people love you, that people wants to best for you, obviously, and you want to grow with them, learn from them and everything. So Neil Jahani, Aaron Weiss, and the entire team are so much fun. And the concept is a membership club. People sometimes, it took a long time for people to believe that in actually Miami, we're going to have a sort of a club like that. And I tell you what, it was great because when you and I spoke, we were really having an amazing conversation. He got bit by the bug of racing. Yeah. That bug is actually awesome, by the way, because it's all about performance, obviously, excellence, but also you want to have a good time. And I mean, you're speaking my language basically, because this is what I've been doing my entire life. So having them at Miami, which is an incredible place, by the way, in Florida, right there in a place that you can, the airport is right there. You can fly your plane or and you can actually walk just down the street and be in the racetrack.
From the time you land to the time you're behind the wheel of the car is like a half hour max.
Which not only that, it's not only a racetrack, Neil, Aaron, and the entire team spent so much time, to have this track, not FIA approved, but technology, everything it's by lights anymore. We don't have, flagman out there. We have an incredible system. When I say we, it's because I feel like part of the beginning.
Oh, number 4.
Number 4, exactly. And it was so cool to be part of this project that Neil Visions was all about, and his team Trilogy. So when you combine all these incredible elements, it's just like a chef, when you start doing that amazing recipe, and without vision you won't be able to do it. So super fortunate to be surrounded by this amazing group of people, and not only that, now you have in the members, which on top of that, also very successful business people, successful businesswomen. Everyone, it's actually bring their family, which becomes, again, remember what I said about being surrounded by a great group of people? That's exactly the same concept of the Concourse Club. So, which is fun. Yes, when you put the helmet on, everybody's competitive. Yeah, forget about it. But out there, it's a different way of competition. We're trying to be the healthy way to make yourself better, and but also have a good time. And yes, the time for me was perfect because my career, it's always gonna come like this, but then it comes to a point that was natural in life. Mm-hmm. You start like thinking, what's next? And I wanna be in a place that I feel great, and the Concourse Club is the perfect place.
What else can we expect over the next few years from Mr. Castroneves?
Well, a lot of people, it's funny because how things go. A lot of people say, oh, it's getting old or age. Age for me, it depends of the person. Right now, I love what I do. I love racing, and I feel young. I don't feel anything. Actually, I feel better driver than actually before. And if you see now who is battling for the championship in IndyCar, it's the most experienced guys, right? Yeah. So age, it's just a number, and that's why I want to continue going. I want to really help myself and Simon to put a statement that we already did, but we want to continue be more consistent up front with MSR, and I feel we can. So next year we're going to continue going. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but I'm also going to do the IMSA sports car program, which is the Daytona, Sebring, and the Petit. I can't wait to drive that LMDH car. Oh, I'm like, my hand's on fire right now. Yeah. But I'm also want to give another win to Mike because he deserves it. He deserves a better result that we had this year. Fortunately, it wasn't the way we thought it was going to be, but we feel a great future ahead of us.
Well, I know that, and count me among them, I know there's an awful large group of people that want to see Spider-Man climbing the fence at Indy one more time. I told you it was going to be a good one. Thanks so much for joining us, and of course a huge thank you to our guests. What a fabulous show it was. And as we wrap up, I once again want to implore you to please take a moment, go to raceforrp.org or go to polychondritis.org, or better still, go to both. Learn more about what these organizations are doing to try and find and raise awareness for the treatments and cures for autoimmune diseases in general, and in particular, relapsing polychondritis, a particularly vicious one that so many people suffer from. And in each of those websites, there is a link you can click to be able to donate if you can spare a little bit to try and raise the funds for the research necessary to find those very treatments and hopefully a cure. Once again, thanks so much for joining me here on Full Throttle, powered by Race4RP. We'll see you next time.